It is finally happening. Jeep is putting a V8 in the Gladiator. We're going to talk about everything in today's video. I'll include a link to the Jeep Insanity's website in the description down below. They're providing us with this particular Gladiator. They are also hosting a Jeep event at the end of this month. So if you're interested, just save a link to their website within your browser. They'll have more updates on their website down the road. Let's get right into it. The Gladiator came out for the 2020 model year, and it has only had one powertrain since then. A 3.6 liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed. It puts out 285 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque. Now this is a great baseline powertrain for the Gladiator. It's pretty fuel efficient. The power delivery is nice and smooth. I'll show you guys a little bit later in the video. And it's also pretty darn reliable. But this engine is just not all that exciting. It is sub 300 horsepower and, well, it's a V6, so it sounds okay. But even with an exhaust, it's still just gonna sound like a fart can. At this point, you might be wondering, well, what V8 is Jeep going to put under the hood of the Gladiator? And we all know they really just have two options. The 6.4 liter Hemi that's already in the Wrangler 392, and then the 5.7 liter Hemi that hasn't been in any of the Wranglers or the Gladiators from the factory. The 6.4 Hemi is the obvious choice in terms of easy to throw in, because they could literally just take the 392 chassis and all of that and then just throw a truck bed on it, because the Gladiator is just a Wrangler with a truck bed. But the problem with doing this is the fact that it's going to be extremely unaffordable. 392 Wranglers do sell, but they're so expensive that they don't sell in super high volume. And so if Jeep wants the Gladiator to sell at higher volume amounts, they're going to have to put a powertrain in it that's going to be a little bit more affordable, and that's where the 5.7 Hemi comes in. Now, there's no confirmation if the 5.7 Hemi is going to be the option. Jeep just said there's going to be a V8 in the Gladiator, and the 392 Wrangler is going to continue to exist. But I do think this makes the most sense from a cost perspective and in terms of what people actually want. Trust me, everyone wants a 6.4 Hemi, but it's just too darn expensive. So I do think that Jeep's probably going to throw the 5.7 in the Gladiator. That also means that they're not going to have to change the chassis all that much with the Gladiator, because with the Wrangler 392, they had to reinforce a bunch of stuff because the V8 has so much power that it would literally kind of tear the Wrangler apart. And so doing the 5.7 Hemi that has significantly less torque and horsepower compared to the 6.4 Hemi means that they could pretty much just keep the Gladiator as is with the axles and everything else and just put the engine under the hood. And I really, really hope that they do that. And I hope they also offer that 5.7 Hemi in the Wrangler, because, again, the 392 is just too expensive. There's a lot of people that want a V8 Wrangler that can't spend $100,000 on one, though. As always, still trying to hit 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would help out with that. Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering on price. I mean, this Gladiator I'm showing in today's video is a Mojave, and it stickers for $56,000 already. A fully decked out Rubicon or Mojave is going to be in the mid-60s with the Gladiator, which is kind of crazy because it's a bit less expensive than the Wrangler counterpart, which would be, you know, into the 70s, well into the 70s. But again, the Gladiator, you can't even have 35-inch tall tires. Hopefully that also changes. But in terms of my guess, I think that they're probably finally going to have a factory option for 35s, and they're probably going to gatekeep the V8 to only have 35s. Maybe they'll offer it with 33s for a more affordable option. I just don't personally see that happening, but that does mean that the Gladiator is probably going to at least see a price increase. I mean, you add 35s to it of, you know, $4,000 to $5,000 just for that. And then you add in the powertrain on top of that, which if it's a 5.7 Hemi, I think that'd probably be another $4,000 or $5,000, and they'll probably gatekeep it behind the Mojave and the Rubicon. And so I am assuming that if it's a 5.7 Hemi, it's probably going to be a $75,000 vehicle. Could even be as much as $80,000, but that would be my guess on pricing. Is it's probably going to be about $75,000. It'll be an extreme recon, so it'll be a nice vehicle with a lot of equipment, but it ain't going to be dirt cheap. If they end up going with the 6.4 Hemi, I think it'll be $90,000 to $95,000. Again, a Rubicon 392 right now is currently about $100,000. The Gladiator is always a little bit less expensive, and so yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet in terms of the pricing if they end up doing the 6.4 Hemi. Now, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jeep will allow you to get a Gladiator Sport with the 5.7 Hemi. Time will tell on that, but that is my assumption. I think they're going to gatekeep it behind the higher packages, just like what they did with the Wrangler 392, where you could only get it with a fully loaded Rubicon, meaning that it's going to just start at a higher price tag. But even if it ends up having a starting price of about $75,000 with the 5.7 Hemi, I mean, think about it. You're getting a mid-size pickup truck with a V8, 35-inch tall tires, and re-geared and all that kind of stuff. I think that would still be really cool. Again, this is not official whatsoever, but it's just my guess as to what will happen. And I hope that along with that, they offer the Extreme Recon with the V6. They probably will. I really hope they do an Extreme Recon, because if they just come out, throw in the V8, and you still have to go and put a lift and bigger tires on yourself, yeah, that's going to be annoying. But let's quickly take this Gladiator out and talk about the benefits of putting a V8 under the hood, other than the sound, because Jeep and Stellantis in general, with their marketing on this, just keep talking about how, oh yeah, people want the sound, people want the sound. It's not just the sound. Gladiator with the V6. Now, I'm going to use my 392 Wrangler as a demonstration after this as to why it's not just the sound. It is definitely not just the sound. So, with the 3.6 V6 also, I forgot how bad the stock suspension is on Jeeps. I've been driving my Wrangler with the AEV kit on it. I've got the AEV suspension. Holy guacamole, it's so much better. Like, just going over that, this thing feels so much firmer. Like, just doesn't drive as good, just way worse. Crazy. Wow, it is so crazy. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be about the engine, but man, I'm noticing how much better that suspension system I have is. It just makes me feel better about spending the money to buy it. I mean, let's be real, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap. So, this is fine, but like, I have to really like kind of wring the engine out. It doesn't sound that good. It's pretty smooth, but like, torque is not a thing with this engine. Now, I've heard so many people reiterate this, that, oh, you don't need that much horsepower off-road, that, you know, the amount of power this has is just fine. And yeah, that's technically true. And Jeep, again, with like their Extreme Recons, they re-gear it, and people put bigger tires in their Gladiators, they typically re-gear it. Even re-geared, having this little power is a huge detriment both on-road and off-road. I have driven tons of vehicles over the years, off-road and on-road, and I can tell you, horsepower off-road is not necessary, but it makes off-roading so much better. It's a huge difference. It's literally the difference between having a seamless experience crawling and having something that feels somewhat sketchy because you're kind of running out of power in a way, right? Especially up super steep inclines. You know, it's like you're bouncing off the rev limiter to get up a hill versus, you know, again, that V8, it's just like, oh, I can basically idle up this thing. I mean, and again, I'll drive it just to show you guys, but like, look at this. I mean, I'm just constantly. And this thing has a hood scoop. It's basically, this thing is literally all show and no go. Like, it's so slow. It's so slow. So it's the sound, it's the acceleration 100%. It's also just the overall power delivery. This is not bad. This is a smooth engine, but compared to an NA V8, a V6 can just never compete. It'll never be as smooth. It'll never have as much low-end torque. I don't care how aggressive, I don't care if you put a 5.75 axle ratio on this thing. It'll still not have the low-end torque of a V8. Let's pop in the 392 to show you what I'm talking about. First off, like I said, definitely the sound. Definitely the sound. But also, I mean, you listen to that V6, I can go and get a bunch of Mexican food and make better sounds than what that V6 can make. That's all I'm gonna say, is it just doesn't sound good at all. It's like, it's fine, but it's not an appealing sound. It is not an appealing, but this is wonderful. Also, the suspension's so much better. Man, it's crazy. This thing drives like a luxury car compared to the stock. I don't know stock Jeep suspension. It's so bad. But yeah, this sounds great. But also, you probably noticed, I've barely gotten into the throttle at all. That Gladiator had 33s and a 410 axle ratio. This has a 4.56, so a little bit more of an aggressive axle ratio. I have 37s though. way bigger tire, and I'm going up to 2,000 RPMs. That I'm ringing it out almost to red line, and this I'm just kind of casually getting into it, and it doesn't feel that much slower. Like, it's, the torque difference is so much, and this does translate off-road 100%. I've done tons of rock crawling, like I said, and this thing is so smooth. You can be so precise because you have 470 pound-feet of torque to work with, and it just, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Let me just turn the temperature up so it isn't too loud, but I'm also dying because it's hot. Like, just listen to that thing, and you'll never get this level of power delivery out of a V6, and even if you turbocharge it, no, it's just not the same. Like, this thing going up to 3,000 RPMs feels quicker, or as quick as that thing going up to red line. Like, it's such a monstrous difference, and it's smooth too, right? With turbos, you get turbo lag and everything. This, it is perfectly smooth. And if you do go full throttle, right, it sounds fantastic, and it just gets right up. 37s. If I had 33s on this thing, I would probably be like in the back of the Jeep because I'd be going so fast. So, it's the sound, it's the torque, it's the acceleration, it's the smooth power delivery. This is so much smoother than a V6. This is smoother than an inline six. A V8, there's no replacement for cylinders, and there's no replacement for displacement. So I hope that Jeep understands, and I hope that Stellantis understands that some people will be open to the new turbo engines like the Hurricane. Cool powertrain. We're always going to want a V8. We are always going to want a V8. So thank you for putting a V8 in the Gladiator finally. But the second that, excuse me, the second that you get rid of the V8s fully, just understand that there will be customers, myself included, that are, I'm not going to say that I would never buy another Jeep, but let's just say I've only bought 2 Jeeps in my life. Both of them have been 392s. If there was never a 392 Wrangler, I would never buy a Jeep. I love the brand, I love the cars, but like, this is the powertrain of it. And again, 392, I don't need this powertrain. I think that if there was a 5.7 Hemi Wrangler, I'd be driving that. But because this is the only V8 you can get, it's the only V8 you can get. But yeah, hopefully you guys get the point. Like, this has to be something that stays in the Jeep, and just stayed in Ram too. I would never buy a turbo Ram, honestly. I've driven the new powertrain. I think it's got great power delivery. I think it's fuel efficient. I think it's super fast. I still kind of want a V8. I just like I love the feel. I love the sound, the acceleration. I don't care if the turbo engine's faster, right? That's the thing that these automakers try to do. Oh, it's faster 0 to 60. I don't care. The 5.7 Hemi's fast enough, and it's smoother. Let me know your thoughts.